I told it to start. It says it's live. I'm not seeing it on the preview yet. There it goes. Hey!
Hello.
We're actually up and running.
Cool.
I don't know if it's working right or not, but...
So where would I actually find this streaming along at your fabulous...
So if you refresh the YouTube page, I would assume that it would come up.
I see, yes. I see something that says live. The SEB podcast that wouldn't die. Let me pull that up. There is one person watching. I don't know if that's me or not.
That would be you.
Okay. I'm watching.
Hey, everybody, it's Les.
And it's Dave.
From Dave Does the Blog.
Dave Does the Blog.
He's from Dave Does the Blog. I'm from Stupid Evil Bastard. We've done this before. I'm hoping this is working.
Looking at it streaming, neither of us are... Oh, unless maybe I have to hit the play button to see whether people are moving. Yes.
Can you hear anything through it?
Yes, I can hear. Now I just need to kind of try to catch up with where we are.
That's one of the questions I have. There is a latency, and I have it set to ultra low latency so that if somebody does happen to come by and do something in chat, hopefully it'll show up,
So, it does look like we're moving. It does sound like we're talking. It could be heard. And I'm going to turn the volume off on that because it's very distracting because I'm hearing things from a minute and a half ago or something. So, but
yeah,
yes, we are there.
Okay, good. Well, it does look like it's working then. It does. I have a preview to my right. It does look like there is a bit of a delay. Let's see. Stream's current bit rate is higher than the recommended bit rate. We recommend. Oh, apparently I'm giving YouTube too much data.
Oh no. Those amateur slackers at Google.
The current bit rate is higher than the recommended bit rate. We recommend use a stream bit rate of 4,500 kbits per second. I'm currently doing 12,199.23 kbits per second. I'm not going to...
Little difference.
Hopefully it doesn't cause a problem that I'm doing a fire hose to YouTube. This is
Internet outage.
Yeah, this
Breaks Nation.
If this actually ends up working properly, I will be very impressed. Because this is the first time I've done it this way. I mean, the last time we did this, almost 3 years ago, Google Hangouts was still a thing.
Yes.
And it made it so simple. And it even let us put up little name bars at the bottom and stuff. So this is like I said, this is an application called OBS, Open Broadcast Studio. I think I've got it figured out, but it's a lot of moving parts. So I'm hoping that your audio is coming through properly. It looks like we have 2 concurrent viewers now. So there's you and somebody else. So whoever else is watching, if you want to
wave to our studio audience,
if you want to say hi in the chat, let us know if this is coming through. That'd be great. But I've got the chat. The nice thing about OBS is, I can do scenes. Like, for example, if we need to pause for a moment, I think that mutes all audio too. But, see, it'll stand by, and then and then I think that gets rid of the audio too. But like I said, I've been meaning to stream with this for a while. And I just don't. So what's new?
Oh man, well let's see. COVID.
What's that?
College stuff. Yeah, I know. Something those liberals keep talking about. I don't believe it's real. I'm sorry, I can't even say that with a non-straight face. Especially since, so let me back up 3 stories and try to sum up. So my son is in Sweden for his semester abroad this year,
Cool.
which was supposed to be last semester, but nobody was doing that. Um, and we just got a report back yesterday that he's tested positive for COVID.
Oh,
Very mild symptoms, just, it was congestion and a cough, and he's already doing better, but it basically means he's in isolation for, 7 days after the test and 48 hours after the last symptom. So he misses out on some activities, some cool activities, unfortunately, that were going to be taking place this coming week, but, he's well. My mom and my wife's parents have all had their vaccines, and their retirement community is beginning to carefully open up things again. I became eligible here in the beautiful state of Colorado for the latest tier of vaccines to be opened up, wave 1B3, due to my advancing age. So in theory, I should be hearing from my medical provider sometime real soon now to go in and get the first shot, or only shot if it's a Johnson & Johnson.
Okay. Hopefully you're not echoing, because I'm seeing you show up on both desktop audio and Skype.
I didn't hear an echo when I was actually listening to the live stream. There's a slight bit of reverb.
All right. Let me try this. All right. Try and say something.
Something. Hello, testing. What hath God wrought?
Can you still hear yourself?
Well, let's find out.
Because I can hear you. And the Skype but mixer is working. So hopefully, I say it's a little confusing. And your face is very, very big.
Yeah, again, the only place I could fit a computer table downstairs was kind of a little table in the back.
Got it.
So, by the way, the reverb seems to have gone away.
Okay, so hopefully that's less annoying for everybody.
Yay.
That, happens to come by.
So aside from that, with the COVID stuff, it's been basically just, working from home. I've been in the office once since last mid-March to pick up my phone headset for my desk, and doing a lot of food delivery and pickup rather than going out and spending money on stuff other than vacations.
Yeah, it's roughly the same. I go into the office twice a week for half a day on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but otherwise it's mostly working from home. There's just some things as an IT guy you can't do from the desk. About a year and a half ago, my mother moved in with me. Actually, a year ago last October. She moved in and promptly fell off the back porch and broke her hip.
I remember you talking about that. Yeah. How's she doing?
She's doing better. She has days where the memory isn't great. She has days where she has trouble working the microwave. But overall, she seems to be doing pretty good, all things considered. She walks a lot more slowly than she used to. Some days she needs to use her cane. But overall, not bad. Her dog is a terror. Not a terrier. Well, I think it's part terrier, but it is a terror. I've never disliked a dog before. I dislike this dog. But I promised her that as long as she wanted the dog could stay. So the dog is here. Both cats have relegated the upstairs to the dog during the day. And in the evening hours, once the dog is in her crate, both cats come upstairs. But they're perfectly happy to let the dog have the upstairs for now. I keep telling them they're both as big as the dog is. If either one of them were to walk up and just smack the dog a couple of times, it would probably leave them alone. But it's all barky, noisy. And, she acts like there's a terrorist in the room anytime she sees anything that isn't us. and it doesn't even have to be real. It could be horses on TV, babies crying on TV, me playing Red Dead Redemption on TV. It doesn't matter. She will bark at it, like the hordes are at the gate. And that's probably the thing that annoys me the most. But still employed. I actually will hit 10 years as an official employee this September, which is the longest I've been employed anywhere. Technically, it'll be 11 years because I was there for a contractor for a year. But you remember some of the past podcasts, I was unemployed while we were doing them.
And likewise. So, yeah, I just passed, a few months ago, passed my second year anniversary at my current employer, and was very pleased about that. Knock on wood, that'll just kind of keep on rolling along.
Oh, you've been there. What you just said? 3 years?
2 years. A bit over 2 years. I started in December of 18.
In one ear and out the other.
So, yeah.
Well, I'm glad to see you're healthy. I'm glad to hear that your son is doing okay, all things considered. My sister went through a bout of COVID.
My brother did as well, yeah.
I honestly, speaking of COVID, I don't know how I haven't got it. Because, one of the directives was don't touch your face, right? I touch my face constantly. Just whoever came up with the directive, one, doesn't have a beard and a mustache, and two, doesn't have cats or dogs that shed, because you pet the cat for 5 seconds and then you're trying to get all the fur off your face.
I think it like so many of these things, a lot of it depends on all the other approaches you're taking. So, I mean, if you're in your household and your household as a whole is staying pretty insular, then touching your face isn't really a problem.
Right.
It's when, going out and running your hand along the stairwell rail and then, sucking on your fingers, that's a little bit more problematic. But even there, I mean, the contact stuff turns out to be much less frequent of a vector than airborne.
Yeah. I just remember back at the start, they were like, don't ever touch your face. And I was like, I'm going to die because I have to touch my face. I can't.
I try to avoid it when I'm out, like at the grocery store, which is pretty much the only place I go out to. While I'm there, I try to avoid touching my face, and then I'm slathering with Purell before and afterwards. So
yeah, I mean, and being IT, having to go into work, touch somebody's laptop,
Yep.
It's always in the back of your mind. So get the little bottle of Purell on the desk.
Yep.
But still, I'm amazed, giving, how absentmindedly I'll just every 5 minutes. I'm surprised I haven't caught it. But you got topics?
I wrote all sorts of topics.
You did better than me.
We've talked about the plague. I'm looking forward to not wearing masks anymore. Although I'm impressed by how just kind of standard they've become with most people.
Yeah.
At least here in the area that I'm in, people just wear them. Sometimes they're not wearing them going from their car to the store and things like that, but by and large, all of the brouhaha and don't tread on me, freedom kind of thing has subsided for the masks up. So I got some cool masks from a company on Etsy that have been a good regular supply. They're washable, they're multi-layer, they have bright fun colors, things like that. So that hasn't been bad.
I've been rocking a cloth one that was made for me by a friend of my cube mate.
Oh.
And it was supposed to be designed so that it has a beard pouch, because
right.
But of course, I have this beard, which does not go into pouches. it refuses. So it's more like a beard flap now instead of a beard pouch. It still goes on my face, but it just kind of covers the beard instead of actually containing the beard. But that's held up amazingly well for being homemade. It's got a little slot inside for replaceable filters and that sort of thing.
Cool.
We were buying N95 masks for Ann and Mom, especially Mom, for the few occasions that they had to go out for something. And generally speaking, like you, it's been mostly grocery shopping or, visits to the doctor or, so on.
Right.
By the way, can I say how much I love the fact that grocery delivery has become commonplace, or at least in, like I live in a suburb of Detroit, and we can get groceries delivered from Meijer, Kroger, and Aldi's. I think my wife is using Instacart. And it's not as expensive as I would have thought.
Yeah. They've also done a lot. I mean, they've got that in our area. They're also doing a lot with, having someone bring the groceries out to your car and load them in. Yeah. So you don't have to get up and out, which is actually, I've done that a couple of times. I like to go into the grocery store and it's relatively brief and safe. The main problem I have is that it's now increasingly difficult to maneuver around inside the grocery store because I have these giant carts where grocery store workers are loading in multiple bags of groceries for different customers that are for delivery or for curbside pickup.
Right.
And it's like I can barely get my cart around this giant cart that you've got here, and you're standing there in the way, focused on pulling 45 bottles of ketchup and putting them into different bags.
Things, yeah.
I guess I'll go around. So that's my big complaint. Damn it!
I'm just hoping it sticks around because as we get older, honestly, I think it's going to be very useful to have that sort of thing on hand.
There's been a lot of things that this has forced that I think will stick around because it is useful. I think once we start getting return to work, a lot of certainly white collar style work will end up being done at least part-time at home. I think there'll be a new balance kind of coming there, but all the stuff that's been invested in and grown with using Zoom or Teams or whatever folks are using for video conferencing, I think will stick around and will be a big part of whatever the future of work looks like for the next decade plus.
Yeah.
I would not be investing in business real estate these days. There's going to be a glut on the market because companies are going to cut back.
I think it's shown that there are a lot of jobs that could be mostly done from home. With the right setup. I mean, the webcam I'm using is a Logitech C922, I think, which I bought years ago. And they came out with a new one aimed at streamers called the Stream Cam. And it was out of stock for like the last year. It was $170 and it was out of stock. And I thought I wanted one, and then I've gone without it for so long. And this one works okay. But the more I read about it, the recommendation is to just go with a DSLR or GoPro and a cam link. Because that way, because like the Stream Cam, the most it'll do is 1080p at 60 hertz or 60 frames per second. And, with a GoPro, even a used Hero 3 or Hero 4 will do 4K. Not that, you really want to see this in 4K. But
I confess it for work purposes. I use the crappy little camera that's on the top of my laptop, and it's going over a Wi-Fi signal in my house to our cable modem, and so. But people can see enough that for purposes of a business conference that it's not a problem. I enjoy coming up with fun, imaginative backgrounds to use. Just because otherwise they're looking up at the the bottom side of my cat's palatial climbing tree apartment thing.
You mean like the one to my right that you can't see because I cropped the screen?
Or the one to my left that you can't see because I'm sitting so close to the camera.
Yes.
So
speaking of Zoom, have you heard the news stories about the kids figuring out how to game Zoom so that they don't have to sit in class? There's been two news stories about it. One was actually not a news story. One was a Twitter thread. Guy was talking about his niece. She apparently figured out that if you put in the wrong password enough times, it locks the account. But it doesn't say the account is locked. It just says the password's incorrect. So she would lock her account intentionally every day, and her mother couldn't figure out why it wasn't working, and the teacher couldn't figure out why it wasn't working, and they got Zoom tech support involved, and they couldn't figure out what was going on. And then finally one morning, I guess her mom was watching her from a point of view where she couldn't see that her mom was watching, and caught her putting in the password wrong several times to lock the account. And every time you put it in, after that, it just increases the amount of time the account's going to stay locked.
Right.
So, I mean, that was clever. And then there was a news story the other day about some little boy that apparently had made his screen name Reconnecting.
I like it. ...
So that it would look like he was having connection troubles and he could just go off and do whatever. So.
Yeah, I mean.
Kids are smart these days.
Oh, yeah. And it's tough. It's tough with kids in schools and not being supervised and having to focus in the video conferencing stuff for lesson purposes. I completely understand that. It was not ideal for my son doing college level classes
I can imagine.
for the past previous semester and a half. So I'm completely sympathetic to the folks going, oh, we need to get our schools back open and stuff. But we also have to do that safely with the investments into infrastructure and vaccines and stuff like that, so that you can't just say, oh, this is tough, we're just going to stop doing it.
I've never been happier that my daughter is 30 and living in Arizona.
I'm not sure about the Arizona part, but yeah, I mean, not.
Well, I mean, I'd rather she was closer to home, but I mean, I'm glad that she's 30 and that I didn't have to try and homeschool her.
Yeah. I mean, that would be a real burden. And it's had a knock-on effect not just on the kids, but on the custodial parents that are at home, and it's had the effect of really doing a serious number on especially women's numbers in the workplace, where it's like, because of relative incomes, it's usually been the mothers that have been saying, oh, I guess I'm going to have to quit my job so I can basically be babysitting the kids all day, whether they're in class or not. And that's going to have an unfortunate effect over for a number of years as well. Yeah.
We'll get through it.
It has been an opportunity to really get into doing some online tabletop gaming stuff. We've got a couple of different evening games that we're involved in. I am actually after like a 15-year hiatus GMing a Dungeons and Dragons game online.
Wow.
20. And there's some really cool stuff that enables you to do. Aside from the fact that you can you don't have to clean up the house or clean off a table to make it all happen. But I mean, the automation that has gotten into the stuff that you can do, and with maps and with character sheets and having it all be electronic, really has some cool advantages from the old tabletop days. You lose the visceral fun of having multiple sets of dice and deciding which dice are hot and which are not, and you don't have quite the same excuse to sit there and binge on the chips that you brought for everybody, but you're going to eat most of them. But aside from, the convenience of doing it, not having to have everybody get together at a given time. So we do a Wednesday night game.
Right.
We start at 8 and end at 10:30, 11. And if it was like real world face to face, it's getting home kind of late, and you're gonna drive and stuff like that. And now being able to, exchange anecdotes, say a hearty farewell, and turn off the camera means it's much more likely to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I've done a little bit of that. A buddy of mine, Greg, has been running a campaign for ever, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And he's moved it online, but I want to say a year or so ago, he got into a test group for a new pen and paper game. I want to say Numera, but I'm not sure if that's, I'm not sure if that's correct.
Sounds familiar. I don't know it, but I think I've heard of it.
But anyhow, he recruited me and a couple of other of our friends to get together online and help play test that,
Mm-hmm.
Which is the only real role playing I've done since my early 20s. The group that I used to game with, some of them have passed on, unfortunately, and the rest are who knows where for the most part. So if we were going to do it, we'd have to do it that way,
right,
regardless of the pandemic.
It's nice not having to get home from work, to the extent that people are getting home from work,
Right,
and sit down at your computer, which you probably would be doing anyways, and be able to get right there to the game and play it for however long. It doesn't make kind of what difference what day of the week it is. It's let us play more games as our adult real lives became more complicated.
right. And honestly, every now and then I get the itch. I'd really like to get back into this. I still have all my old Advanced Dungeons and Dragons books. I think I have the second edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons books, and I think I have I have the player handbook for 5th edition, but I don't remember. I kept thinking about getting back into it, and then I never did. I still have some of the original modules. I still have Champions. I think it was 4th edition. I've got the original Champions still laying around.
Yep. Yeah, I've got that bookshelf down in the basement of like all the game rules that I've ever bought. Most of which I've actually played at least once. Yeah. I've got a friend who was just sending out an email saying that he's finally getting around to selling on eBay like all of his old college era D&D stuff, like original box sets and stuff, which are like in just horrible, crappy condition, but they're old. So he's getting like, I'll buy that box of stuff for $100.
Yeah. The closest to that I've got going right now is I've got Greg again, my buddy Rob, and our friend Andy, who moved out to, I want to say, Seattle. We get together online every couple of weeks to play, video games, co-op video games. Diablo 3 has been a popular one. We're doing Borderlands 3 right now and going through all the DLC. And we try to do that at least once every couple of weeks. They were, originally they were coming over to the house because I've got a basement, and I could have LAN parties, and I had people over and we had LAN parties. And then, with COVID and everything, Greg and Bob are still coming over because they're kind of within the bubble. But then when things got really bad, we took it online, especially when Sandy wanted to join in. We took it online, and we've been doing that. Living in the future is nice sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things that we've missed in this is we used to do like on a monthly basis, a tabletop gaming party, not the RPG stuff, but just like, Catan and whatever new games people picked up and things like that. And, we would have 10, 15 people over and spend an entire Saturday from like noon, until the late hours of the night just playing games, and it was a blast. And that's something it would be difficult to simulate. I mean, you could do some of the virtual tabletop work with it for some of the games, but it's not the same. It's not that same social experience.
Yeah.
But we'll get there.
Okay. So I asked about topics 15 minutes ago, and then I did the ADD thing and got distracted, and we rambled.
Well, we were talking about gaming and tabletop stuff, so that was the topic.
Oh, okay,
that was on my list.
Good. Any video games you've been playing lately?
No, I have not. I was for like 6 months, just diving deep into the bootleg, quasi bootleg, City of Heroes servers, the homecoming servers, and doing that and just having a blast. Kind of calling back all those old adventures and everything, and then took a break from it for some reason and realized how much time I'd been spending on it and how many other things I had that I wanted to be doing with that time, and have not gone back. So I cold turkeyed on that. Aside from that, really nothing else from a video game standpoint. How about yourself?
It's primarily what I do.
Yeah.
Although I have to admit, with this year's Call of Duty, I've actually considered making it the last. And I've played every Call of Duty since the first one. And in part, it has to do with, it's funny, they finally changed some stuff that was annoying the hell out of a lot of us fans, like loot boxes. They got rid of loot boxes. They put in a, what do they call it? Season pass, similar to Fortnite. So you know what you're going to get for your $10. But the problem is, the only thing in there that I have any real interest in are the DLC weapons. And those are always free anyway. So there's really no point in spending the money. Everything else is player skins or decals for your gun that nobody ever sees. Sometimes tracer packages, although usually they want to sell you the tracer packages. The DLC is now, it's cost this much and you get this bundle of stuff, which is good, but it's kind of like World of Warcraft when they introduced microtransactions for a handful of cosmetic things. Some of the coolest mounts in World of Warcraft you can only get with real world money, which wouldn't be a problem except they're like $25 a piece. That's a quarter the cost of the game. And I'm already giving you $15 a month on top of having paid for each expansion, If they were $3, sure, I can afford to waste $3 every now and then for a cool mount. It's $15 for the non-combat pets. You don't have a skin that is cool enough for me to spend $25 on. And it's similar with the Call of Duty. The current engine, they basically rebuilt the game last year with Modern Warfare, put in an entirely new engine in, put in the new loot system, so on and so forth. Treyarch brought out, not last year before last, because that was 2019. And then in 2020, November, Treyarch came out with the latest Cold War, and it's basically the same engine with stuff from Black Ops 4 bolted onto it. And because of the popularity of Warzone, which is their battle royale, they've made it clear that's going to be their central focus from now on. The problem I had with Black Ops 3 was it always felt unfinished because Treyarch was splitting its time between multiplayer on Black Ops 3 and Blackout, which was the first Call of Duty battle royale. And now with this, they've taken Warzone and they've moved it across from one game to the other. It ties into both Modern Warfare 2019 and Cold War. And that's their primary focus because they're making a crap ton of money off of it, even though it's free to play. Which is fine. That's not necessarily a problem, but it's been what? They released it in November, so it's been 4 months, 5 months? And to this day, as you're leveling a weapon and you get the unlock notification for a new attachment, it'll say something like Quick Draw Pro, which would be the name of an attachment from Black Ops 4 or a previous game. But then when you actually go to the weapon and look, it's got a completely different name inside the weapon customization, which just shows me that they bolted on something and couldn't even be bothered to change the text to appropriately reflect what the item name is in the game.
Sloppy.
And it seems like every time they come out with a new patch, they fix half a dozen bugs and introduce half a dozen more. And I don't know, it feels unfinished. And for some reason, the progression on this one, the leveling of your character and your weapons, feels a lot slower than any previous game. It feels more like a chore. I enjoy it when there's a double XP weekend because then the progression feels like it did in past games. I'll play the hell out of it. The other aspect that's annoying is they've put in some very strict skill-based matchmaking on this. And the algorithm basically takes in a bunch of different factors, including like your performance in the last 5 games. And what that means is you can have a really great couple of games, and then it'll put you in a lobby either where the connection isn't as good as it was, or where everybody is higher than you in skill level to such a degree that now you can't hit shit. Like you go from a KD of 2.5 in the previous game to a KD of 0.75. Now, I'm a halfway decent player. I'm not super special or anything, but I usually get at least a 1.0 KD. And then you'll go for several games where you'll just get stomped, And then the next game, it's super easy. It's like you're hosting the game, and
you've been stomped so hard, we'll put you in an easy.
Right. And I understand the need for some skill-based matchmaking. You want to have a protected tier for people that are new to the game, because if they just log into the multiplayer and get immediately stopped by even mediocre people like me, they're going to stop playing. And you don't want them to stop playing because you want them to buy shit. So I understand that, but the algorithm is so. It jerks you back and forth so hard.
Yeah, it sounds like it needs to be smoothed more, or it needs, a narrower range that it's shifting at any given time.
I mean, back in the day, we would, you had dedicated servers. They have dedicated servers now, but you have no control over what you get connected to. The other thing that I don't like about the way the current system works is, now, every time a match ends, it disbands the lobby completely and forms a new one. So you have no opportunity to actually, if you get into a lobby where there are people better than you, you have no opportunity to learn from them because you don't get a rematch 9 times out of 10. 9 times out of 10, you're playing with a completely different set of people. And sometimes you'll get 1 or 2 people that were in the previous match in the same lobby. But it makes improving difficult, because as soon as you get any better than you were, you get punished for it, badly. So there's a phenomena called reverse boosting now, where people will intentionally play crappy for several games just so they can get into an easier lobby and just curb stomp people, because that's the only way they're getting any fun out of it. It's very frustrating because I'm a longtime fan of it. And like I said, the new loot system, 90% of what's in it, I could give a shit about. The one advantage to it, I'll say this, the one thing I do like about it is they set it up so that, you have to buy COD points to do anything in the game. So the first season in Modern Warfare 2019 was $10. And as you level, as long as you make it through all 100 tiers of the content, and it's a leveling system so that you keep playing, and of course you can buy levels if you want, but as long as you make it through all 100 levels, you'd get enough COD points back that you could buy the next season. So they have like 4 or 5 seasons a year. So I bought the first season in Modern Warfare 2019 for the hell of it, $10. Okay, whatever. And I haven't paid for a season since, because I don't spend the COD points on the crap they want me to buy. I spend it on the next season.
Right.
So right up through this year,
You're not their business model.
right. They must hate me. Even back when they first started doing microtransactions, and it was, here's, for $3 you get this reticle and this camo to put on your stuff, which is a model I'd love to go back to. I only ever bought one camo, and that was Space Cats, and it was because it was floating cat heads in space, and it amused me greatly to put it on a riot shield and then beat people to death with it. But that's the only camel thing like that. They also sold, they'd sell extra loadout slots. I'd always buy that because it was a couple bucks, and I'd have multiple loadouts. I could have different configurations for different situations. They've also changed how prestiging works. They call it prestiging, but it's really not anymore. It's seasonal stuff, and a lot of the stuff that I used to do in the game, I grind out camos for the guns. I grind out the prestige rewards. The prestige rewards kind of gone. The camos, even if I wanted to buy one of the bundles to get a camo, they're done via blueprints now, so they only affect one gun. You can't apply that camo to any of your guns. You get this one gun, and it comes in this specific configuration, and you can change some stuff out. But if you do, then it looks stupid because the whole look of it is designed around having these attachments.
Right.
So I don't know. I've been really frustrated with it, and I've given serious thought that, I think Sledgehammer is doing this year's release of COD, and it'll have to be. I'm not going to automatically pre-order it like I have in years past. I'm going to wait and see if they address any of these things that not just a lot of fans have been complaining about. And if they do, maybe I'll pick it up. Maybe this might be the last Call of Duty I play. Which is
what
saying
will you do with your time?
There's World of Warcraft. There's actually, I've got a number of PS4 games that I've gotten into and never finished. I have Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and I've gotten pretty far in it, but I've never finished it. I've got Assassin's Creed Origins, which was the one before that, and I've gotten pretty far in that, but never finished it. So, there's actually games that I have. I bought Cyberpunk not too long ago on the PC, and I've gotten pretty far in that. Have I finished it? No, I have not. But it's by the same folks that did The Witcher, so it's got replayability too. But I haven't even gotten through the first playthrough yet. I'm pretty close, but I haven't finished it yet. So, I'm certain there's going to be stuff for me to play.
You won't be hanging out on street corners getting into trouble.
So, hey, how about that Trump guy?
I'd say net my tension level has dropped from, apocalyptic to highly irked over the past month or two, and the fact that I'm not feeling compulsively the need to dive back into Twitter to see what he did today already at all hours has been kind of nice. So I maintained before the election that he was going to fade away fairly fast. That hasn't happened,
no.
But I don't think he himself is going to last. I think he's gotten a political movement within the GOP that will kind of say, hey, this whole thing of being policy free and conspiracy minded, and all we're going to do is hammer emotional talking points and do outrageous things to keep hold of power. That'll stick around because that model is kind of being proven. But I don't know how long he will last as a force in and of himself. Between health problems, between the criminal law enforcement issues that he's facing, all those things. People talk about, he's going to run in 2024. I don't know if he's going to be alive in 2024. I just think that, and I don't mean that in any sort of a sinister fashion by any means, and I hope there's nothing sinister about it. But I just don't think he and his health and his legal situation are going to hold out until then. And, you know, because I think there's enough up-and-comers without him in that same vein to fill that gap behind him.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I mean, I've been unpleasantly surprised before.
I honestly, at this point, I'm the legal troubles are probably the only thing I have any optimism about, and I'm not super optimistic about that. You know, even I thought it was going to be bad when he won, and you know, I went back and watched our previous podcast, and it was bad then, and it only got worse. And honestly, there's no way I could have foreseen. I mean, I thought it was going to be bad, and it was way worse than I ever thought it would be.
And it would have been even more worse had he won a second term.
Yeah,
I have no doubt of that.
The fact that he managed to survive 2 impeachments does not bode well for him actually facing any kind of consequence.
Except that he got out of the impeachments because of the politics.
Yeah, no, I understand.
US Senate,
I understand that.
And the GOP.
I understand that, but I mean, I would love to see the state level stuff bear fruit. I'm not optimistic, if only because Democrats seem to have a habit of shooting themselves in the foot over a lot of this. And you know, I'm clearly not a political scientist who really knows what's going on, but I don't know. Maybe it's an effect of having had to live through those 4 years. I'm super cynical at this point over anything to do with him. It seems like he is made out of Teflon. And the fact that there are 75 million people that voted for him really worries me, because the next guy that comes along isn't going to be
as stupid,
as much of an idiot, you know?
Yeah.
And he's going to have an agenda and an idea of what he wants to do, as opposed to make me look good and let me take all the credit, you know?
Right. Yeah, I mean, Trump demonstrated the fundamental weaknesses of our system, which relied upon, you know, a certain amount of, you know, shame and duty and public pressure, and you know, response to and respect for, you know, the facts that I'm going to ignore all that stuff, and what are you going to do about it? And the answer was, not a lot we can do, apparently. You know, the only thing that really restrained him to any significant degree was that things were as tight as they were in the Senate, that the Dems managed to take back the House, and that the federal court structure at that point was willing to put a brake on a lot of what he did. And that last one in particular has now been seriously weakened.
Yeah.
And the GOP is doing its darndest to make sure that they will retain power in the places they have power, no matter what happens.
Yeah.
It's ghastly. So I remain optimistic to the extent that that's kind of my basic nature, but anytime I actually look at what's going on, it's not promising.
Yeah.
As you said, the next guy who comes along isn't going to be as stupid, isn't going to be as openly driven by narcissism, is going to go in there with a plan. I mean, Trump didn't go in with a plan. Trump backed into this as a publicity stunt and somehow won. And all of a sudden it was like, oh, I get all these goodies. I'm going to focus on that. And I'm going to rage at anybody who doesn't give me everything I want.
Yeah.
And the next person is going to say, I'm in here in order to do X, Y, and Z. And that's what I'm going to be focused on, while throwing gobbets of raw meat to my supporters.
Right. Oh, I'd like to apologize. Apparently, my mother has started watching television and hasn't put her ears in. So you're probably picking up
a little bit.
I just noticed that the mic input on here was bouncing around when I wasn't talking, and I was like, okay. I don't know what she's watching. She's been watching Merlin, but on Netflix, but she's watched Supernatural all the way through, I think, a dozen times now. One of the advantages of being 86 and, not always able to remember everything is you can watch the same show over and over and over again, and it's still entertaining, and you're always surprised.
Yeah, there's I guess that is a plus. So have you been consuming much media yourself?
I've gotten really bad about, or not bad, but YouTube is my primary thing at this point. I have subscribed to, last time I looked, it was 150 or so channels. And it's everything from SciShow and, Hank Green and the Vlog Brothers to Nerdist News and random people. I've got Alton Brown to subscribe to him. And I'm not a guy that cooks, but he's entertaining enough that watching him is interesting. But I don't know. WandaVision, we just finished that.
Yes.
Have you seen that?
Oh yeah, we rushed through it over dinner last night so we could get to our D&D game. That was, I think, wow, Marvel's really been showing, or Disney as a whole, because the same is true for like
Mandalorian.
Some of the Star Wars stuff. That. The small screen, you can tell short, tight, compact stories and tell them really effectively, and kind of be able to experiment a bit with your universe and expand it out and do some great stuff. So I thought WandaVision was fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to all the other stuff they've got lined up coming behind it.
Loki's looking really good.
Yeah. Well, I'd sit there and watch Loki read the phone book. So
yeah.
We watched have been watching the Mandalorian as those seasons have dropped.
Yep.
That's been a lot of fun. I'm going to be really curious to see where they go with the next season, because it seems like they've taken an abrupt shift in sort of the overall plot.
Yeah.
Which can be good, because if you keep telling the same story over and over again, people get bored. But it's the kind of the moonlighting syndrome. When you make that big change, are people still interested in watching what you're doing if you're not doing what you were doing?
How'd you feel about the Luke Skywalker cameo?
I thought it was cool. I thought it was fitting. I mean, it certainly fit the Mandalorian stuff into the greater scheme of things. I am all in favor of Star Wars stuff that isn't Skywalker centric.
Yeah.
So that was a little disappointing seeing that happen. As purely a cameo, it's okay. I enjoyed seeing Ahsoka Tano appear more. But it made sense narratively, in terms of finding a home for Baby Yoda, and that whole gathering together of Jedi to try to rebuild the Order. Do I want regular recurrences of that, in the coming season or anything like that? No. I'm more interested in Mandalorian dealing with stuff related to Mandalore.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think of the quality of the effect?
I thought it was pretty good. It was at least as good as I was hoping for.
Yeah.
It wasn't fantastic, but they're definitely edging closer and closer to being able to make that kind of thing, the de-aging and masking stuff work. And when they did it with Rogue One, and so Rogue One had the Carrie Fisher one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to remember, did Rogue One also have the Tarkin?
Yes.
Okay. I lost track there for a moment. Those have, they've been mixed. I like the fact that they've been willing to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would want to see an entire movie of someone playing, Princess Leia, with digital masking.
I'm with you there. For small bits like that, I think it's fine. I believe in both those cases they did full digital head replacements with the Luke cameo. I believe it was a deep fake. In fact, one of the YouTube channels that I subscribe to is called Corridor Crew. And they make short films and do digital effects and stuff. And they have a series called CGI Guys React to Good and Bad CGI Effects.
I've seen that. That's a fun series.
And they also will go through and try to recreate, like they tried to do their own version of a deep fake of Luke for that scene to see if they could do a better job than what Disney did. And it wasn't bad. I mean, they did a pretty good job. It's been very interesting watching them explain how a lot of this stuff is done. But yeah, apparently that's a new deepfake technology that Disney developed themselves. So I suspect we'll probably see more of that. But as long as it's, little things like that. I mean, he didn't come in and, they didn't team up and.
Right.
Yeah. I was fine with the camera. In fact, I have to admit, I was excited. I was like, when I first saw, the hooded character walking, I was like, oh, did they do that? They did that. So yeah, I mean, I thought that was really cool. And but I'm with you though. I agree. I don't know that I'd want to sit through an entire series where they took somebody and digitally recreated them.
Yeah. Although, it's interesting. So where's the line between that and doing an animated version of a character?
Yeah.
Or something like Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Where you've got a Ewan McGregor character, you've got a Palpatine character, you've got all these people that were played by real life actors on stage, and now you're basically giving their roles to animation and in many cases a different voice artist.
Right.
Is it that different from a media ethics standpoint to do, once you've got the technology to do it, to actually do deep fakes of, Princess Leia in a season of The Mandalorian?
I don't think I'd have a problem with it so long as the original actor is on board with it. Like they brought Mark Hamill in to do the voice.
Yeah.
And he's, he clearly didn't have an issue with it. With dead actors, at most, I think it should be limited to, if, for example, Carrie Fisher died before the end of the trilogy. Had they CGI'd a couple of scenes so that they couldn't have gotten filmed, before she passed, as long as the estate was fine with it, I mean, I would think she would want them to finish the film. And so you're left with this decision. Do we cut these scenes, or are they so critical of the story that we fudge it? Less enthused by things like a while back they had the commercials where they brought back Humphrey Bogart. I mean, this was in the 90s, so this is a while ago. The back when they were first figuring out how to digitally insert people. Less keen on that.
But what's and I'm playing a little bit devil's advocate here because I haven't really considered this aspect of where is that dividing line? You know, when is using it too much, and what really is the difference between doing that and doing, you know, as I said, you know, an animated version of the same character, the same. We're used to that.
Yeah.
But how do you draw that distinction? When does the animation become too real to feel comfortable with it?
Yeah.
As long as you flag it as this isn't actually Humphrey Bogart, you know, or Humphrey Bogart reconstructed.
Right. I don't know. It's a good question. I mean, we're getting closer all the time to photorealism.
Yeah.
Some of the games that I play, you know, the cutscenes, I mean, you can still tell it's CGI, but the facial expressions and the mocap is just stunning.
Yeah.
My mother, oddly enough, will sit and watch me play things like Red Dead Redemption, and she'll often turn to me and go, "It's amazing all the crap in this." You know, like, because, you know, you're riding a horse through a fictional Old West, and there's rabbits running out of the way, and there's deer off in the corner, and there's a bear suddenly attacking you. You know, in addition to the story itself and everything else going on, the entire world is simulated and done at a fairly high fidelity. And the only reason it's probably not closer to photorealistic at this point, I mean, Horizon's Zero Dawn was another one that was just stunning. And the only reason it's not photorealistic is because they're devoting so much of the processing power to all these different simulations within the world. If you were doing something for film, well, there's an Unreal demo that came out just recently where they just did a render of a scene, and because they were devoting all the effort, all the processing power to that, it was the environment in particular looked photorealistic. The characters, little less so, but not much. In fact, they just had a new demo out for their new facial technology, and again, you can tell it's CGI. Technically, I mean, if you were just glancing at it, you might not realize it at first. I mean, if you sit and watch it for enough time, but the different faces and you know, they're advertising it as a character creator, and some people are like, your next MMO is going to be amazing. Well, I don't think they're going to put that into an MMO, but the amount of detail and changes, the only thing that wasn't being done by computer was the voices. You know, I think voice actors are going to be in for a hell of a ride. Yeah.
Well, it's already a business that's been.
Well, you know, yeah, you're right, because Troy Baker does a lot of voice work in video games. Voice of the main protagonist in The Last of Us, Joel. He's not an older guy, but you wouldn't know it from his voice in the character. By the way, they're making that into an HBO series.
I heard that.
And it might actually get me to sign up for HBO. I've been avoiding it forever and ever and ever. It's bad enough I've got Netflix and I barely watch it. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know where you would draw the line, because you're right. Especially even with the animation at this point, even the stuff that's obviously animated is achieving levels. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Fantastic.
You know, it's obviously an animated cartoon, but at the same time, the fidelity of the animation was just stunning. You know, so I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not an ethicist.
Probably just as well.
Probably, because I can't say it. Well, it's been an hour. Do you want to keep going, or do you think we should wrap, seeing as we've just rambled all over Hell's Half Acre?
Wow. And we've touched on most of what I wanted to mention. I will say that CBS managed to get me to watch Star Trek Discovery by putting it on their broadcast channel, the first season at least, and almost enough to make me want to go out and pay to watch the subsequent seasons. But not quite enough because, as you indicated, it's become increasingly annoying. And we've talked about this in previous ones about all the different streaming services and how many things you need to subscribe to see the things that you want to see.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be curious to see how that trend continues over the next 5 to 7 years. Whether things completely break up or whether there'll be some reunification, because that's people want to be able to bundle those things together more effectively.
We're currently paying for Netflix, Amazon, but we'd be paying for Amazon anyways because of Prime.
Right.
Disney Plus. And I am paying the $11 or whatever a month for YouTube Premium just so I don't have to sit through those damn ads.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's a good business model. Yeah, we're subscribed to those. We actually watch stuff on all three of those in addition to some network stuff. So we're still tethered.
I'm at that point where for most of it, like with Disney Plus, I'll go back and watch the Marvel stuff occasionally. But I'm mainly there for WandaVision and Mandalorian and the series. Netflix at this point for me is primarily Stranger Things. That's the only thing that I make a point of watching on Netflix. Most of what they put on the channel at this point, I mean, honestly, it comes back to that. I never knew there was so much crap that was produced every year. And I'm not just talking new, their original programming. I'm talking, direct-to-video stuff. I've gotten picky in my old age. There's just, certain things that I want to watch. And it's like Doctor Who. I guess HBO Max has New Who now. So that's another incentive for me to sign up. The fact that they're going to be doing The Last of Us is an incentive for me to sign up. I don't really give a shit about the movies. Although the fact that Warner Brothers will be releasing all their movies this year, same day on HBO Max, okay, there's a few movies. I wouldn't mind seeing Godzilla versus Kong, So I don't know if I'm going to sign up for that or not yet. But if Last of Us comes out and it's good, I'm probably going to end up signing up for it. I don't know about New Who yet. I'm really annoyed that they got it because Amazon had it for the longest time and it was part of Prime. So I just watched New Who there. At this point, Doctor Who is probably the only thing I've ever torrented. When I wasn't able to get half the reason I signed up for YouTube TV was because it had BBC America, and I liked YouTube TV, but they kept raising the price and adding sports channels, and it already had more sports channels than I needed.
Right.
So every time they raised the price, like, oh, we've added these new channels. Well, most of them were sports channels or do-it-yourself channels, something I'm generally not going to watch. So the value proposition kept getting worse and worse. Well, now you're getting up into the range that I was paying for cable TV, which I dropped so that I could sign up for YouTube TV because it was cheaper. If you just give me back the $35 tier with the original list of channels that you had, I'd be happy. Because that's why I signed up. It was $35 and you had just the channels I wanted. There was a couple sports channels, but fine. I got live, I got my live local channels, and I got BBC America and a couple other channels that I watch on a regular basis, and I was happy. But no, you had to try keep increasing the value, but then you raised the price, and now I don't want it. And now every time I log into YouTube, it goes, "Hey, do you want to reactivate YouTube TV?" And I go, "No, I don't." Stop asking. So I don't regret cutting the cable. Even with all the services we're paying for right now, it's still cheaper than what we were paying for basic cable. We paid for basic cable. The last time we paid it was on AT&T UVerse. and it was one tier above basic because you had to have that to get BBC America. And when we cut the cable, oh look, there's the cat. When we cut the cable, we were saving $106 a month. You know, just getting rid of that and going straight to streaming.
Yeah.
I really don't see a need to go back. If Disney would offer Disney Plus and Hulu, I'd sign up for that. But no, it's Disney Plus, Hulu, and
ESPN.
ESPN. I don't watch sports.
Yep.
I don't watch your sports channels. I mean, you know, to their credit, ESPN, at least for a while, I don't know if they're still doing it, were carrying video game competitions, you know, esports. But I don't watch esports either. If I want to see people getting shot in the face, I want to be the one shooting them in the face. You know, unless it's Marvel. You know, I'll watch Marvel shoot people in the face. Yeah, you know, we should do this more often.
We should.
Instead
more
of
often, certainly than like, you know, half of a presidential term. Yeah. Well, then we should probably save some of our material and draw a line in it. But this has been fun. Yeah. Thank you for organizing this,
Not a problem.
Les. And it's always good to chat with you.
I know your schedule is very busy. Do you want to try getting together again in less than a month's time or so?
Sure. You know, I think that's probably far enough out that we can make something happen.
And we'll try to make a note to remember instead of forgetting like I have 3 years ago.
And we can talk about, you know, that'll give us a chance to talk about all the exciting stuff going on our blogs. And maybe, you know, be in a position to see a little bit more about how this next presidential administration is shaping up.
And maybe I'll get this figured out a little bit better.
Well, I mean, technically, I think this worked great. So does this like then automatically just kind of show up on your channel as is?
Yes, it should archive as soon as the stream ends.
That's a step up from previously. Okay, now I need to take it and trim it and screen it and then do a massive upload and hopefully it will work.
Yeah. I mean, well, the Hangouts did the same thing. That automatically.
I guess they did. Yeah.
This will archive as is. I probably won't bother trying to edit it because that takes all the fun out of listening to me ramble incoherently. I mean, I'm going to probably watch it back to see whether or not I got everything set up quite right, if there were any echoes, if my mother's TV show came across too loudly. I'll have to remember next time to put her hearing aids in so that she doesn't have to have the TV so loud. I love her dearly, but she won't put them in herself. I have to put them in. So I always ask her, where are your earballs? All right, sir.
All right.
Thank you for your time.
Have a good rest of your day. Thank you for this opportunity. Talk to you later.
Yep. Ciao.